All right, how's it going, everybody? Small development. I'm back from lunch, and it looks like we've got a little bit of a fire nearby. So this is happening in South San Francisco right now. Looks like it's relatively contained. So, you know, there's a few mandatory evacuations, but these are still pretty far away from me. But overall, I mean, so this fire is like 4 to 5 miles from my house. So might be like keeping an eye on it and leave it in a hurry maybe, but hopefully not, obviously. So what we are going to work on, I was thinking, well, I have like a handful of bugs that I want to tackle. So I just thought I'd, knock a few of them down and live stream it as we go. So let's see. The first bug that I was going to tackle is this one, which, by the way, so I would normally, I mean, this is like actually a filed bug on the issue tracker, and I would normally be looking at that, but I'm not actually sure if it's safe for me to look at the issue tracker on stream. So I'm just, giving you the relevant bits of information here. Anyway, what can happen right now is you can have a composable function in an interface, which is totally fine. And if you do this, so if you put composable on the override, then it all just totally works fine. The problem is if you forget to put this composable annotation here, then it doesn't really fail except for at runtime. So the compiler doesn't compile this properly, which is actually really surprising to me, but apparently that's the case. And so we're going to set up a few tests to kind of demonstrate this behavior, and then we'll try and fix it. So I think the first thing that I want to do is just see what the code getting generated is. So what do we want here? Signature test. I guess we'll go to the signature test first. Here, let me pull you over here. So we're here in this signature test. I'm just gonna try and compile basically what's in the bug report here. Let's see what gets generated. And we'll just say test missing composable overload override. Yeah. And let's see what shows up. So not sure how long this is going to take, because I'm on a different SHA, so a bunch of things have changed. So let's go back over to our fire cam. So I guess
Since, you know, we first started reporting on the story about an hour and a half ago. It was a big blaze. It actually started right around the word south. You could see that line of demarcation between the U and the T. You can see where that is. It's black there. That's where the fire first started burning. It might have just been
which, by the way, it's kind of crazy, but like we discovered this just basically like we smelled smoke. And so we like looked out our window and we're like, there's some smoke coming up over that hill. And then like just, you know, search the news and stuff like that. That's the part that like always scares me, is like, how do you know, when you issue these evacuations and stuff, like how do you actually find out about them? 'Cause there's like not really like a good alarm system. Seems just kind of crazy.
Out there for firefighters, Sanaz. In fact,
well, I will say I did get a text. I'm not sure why I got the text, or like what system was responsible for that, but I got a text that was like, hey, there's a fire going on. But it's not like, I mean, my phone's often on silent, and like, you know, I often don't read texts for like hours from getting them, so
still in the single digits,
I don't know.
But winds out of the northeast right now throughout the San Francisco Peninsula around 8-9 miles per hour. So that is also great news right there. And we're noticing the smoke moving away from the sign, and that's that northerly and east.
Sky Color says, don't your firehouses ring a siren? Yeah, I guess they do, but I'm not sure that, you know, everyone would hear them. Like it seems like you hear them if you're on the road or something, but not too much more than that, right? Okay, so this is what happens, which, you know, demonstrates the bug. Like this signature should match this one. And I mean, I'm a little bit surprised that this passes verification. It seems like that should be a verification error, but maybe I don't understand class file verification well enough. Okay, so I mean, basically this should be like a front end level error. So what I think I'm gonna do, one, I want to set up a diagnostic test, which that's like basically a front end test, and I want to have the test, you know, ensure that these properties, like there should be a diagnostic issued if you forget to do this. So yeah, Shinigami says, I believe most people were informed via Twitter in Japan back when the tsunami hit in 2011, which is incredible, and like basically is the same as saying that most people just weren't informed, right? Because, you know, most people aren't just sitting on Twitter all day. So or, you know, I mean, a significant number of people like don't even have Twitter. So it does feel like this is a general societal need, I feel like, that hasn't really been solved in a great way. It's like, you know, instantaneous large scale alarm systems, which, I mean, we have the infrastructure, it seems like you know, basically, you know, if you just got Google and Apple to like agree on some, you know, emergency protocol to, you know, issue warnings, like, you know, Apple's got that whole what's it called, the Amber Alert thing, you know, like that seems good. Like the, you know, if you just had that for like, hey, you know, a tsunami's nearby, like if you could issue that in time, that would be seems like that has the potential to save a lot of lives. Okay, so let's do test missing composable on override. So do the same thing here. Interventions are reported by police and fire department, and what the intervention was. Yeah, I guess like you just want something that kind of has the potential to like wake you up or like obviate any sort of like silence settings you have on your phone. You know, like if I turned my ringer off and my phone is, you know, facing the table, I'm not going to see an SMS in time. I don't know, it's just something to consider. So this should be basically enough for us to see what's happening. So I should be able to run this test, and then I want to, so we'll end up doing this, I think, in the declaration checker. Because in this case, you know, a function is a declaration, and if it's an override, then we want to check if the signature matches the override, basically. So, all right, we've got check function, check property, stuff like this. Okay, so right now, basically, we're reporting, you know, if it's a suspend function, because suspend functions aren't supported yet for composables, but we want to do more than that. So here we'll say descriptor dot is override, maybe. I don't know if is overridable is what we want, but so if overridden descriptors is non-empty, basically. Yeah. Dot is not empty. And in this case, I think we can just grab the top one. Override. And then so the standard, like the front end is going to verify that the overridden signature matches, but it won't verify that the annotations match. So all we really need to do is just to say that, okay, if the override is composable, then this one should be, and vice versa. So that just needs to match. So then we want to say if override dot has composable annotation, if that's not equal to descriptor that has composable annotation, then we want to issue a diagnostic. And what I kind of want to see is I want to see what the diagnostic, like just so that we can kind of match the language pretty closely, is I want to see what the normal diagnostic is for you know, for a signature mismatch, basically. So let's just change the signature, and then we should get a diagnostic here, and we'll just match that. And then we'll want to do a similar thing for properties, as was mentioned earlier. By diagnostic, you don't mean a UI thing, right? So a diagnostic in like Kotlin nomenclature is it's like basically it's something that you can attach to some range of source code, and there's different levels. So there can be like error or warning or info, and if any of them are error, then it's seen as a compile error. But all of these diagnostics are also surfaced to the IDE. So this is essentially, if we report something that has an error level diagnostic, this will show up as a red squiggly, like underlined piece of source code in the in the IDE, which is what we want. Okay. So we essentially get two overrides here. Well, okay, so this is different. So basically we get, let's go over here. So we get squiggly line here, basically saying there's some overloads that you missed, right? And then we get a squiggly here, basically saying that this signature doesn't match anything underneath it. And we probably want to do both, I guess. I mean, doing just this one is easier, but I don't know. Let's see. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to find where they use this diagnostic in Kotlin by just searching for it. Which, okay, well, can't exactly do that yet. So let's just say context.trace.report. Then I think this will be like errors dot. Yeah. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to this. And so we see that this is applied to a modifier list owner and a callable member descriptor. So I'm just going to see where this is used. Callable member descriptor on member. Okay. Yeah, I mean, they just search for it here. That's fine. So basically, we need to pass in where is this class? So what is member here? descriptor to declaration, name declaration. All right. Well, I'm not sure that matters. So in the declaration checker, I can just say on, and I think I can just pass in declaration and descriptor. Descriptor. Does that work? Kind of surprised me because and I thought that that would end up putting the diagnostic over the whole thing. But let's just see what that does. So we'll change this back to Boolean. So update on the fire. Things are looking pretty good. Looks like it's mostly put out. It was looking pretty bad like an hour ago. I mean, not terrible, but it was just like definitely didn't seem under control, I guess. All right. Gosh, it is like super hot in my room right now. Okay, so that's unfortunate. It doesn't look like it worked. So let's see. Let's see what happens here. Oh, because if it doesn't have the composable annotation, then I bail. Okay, so we need to do that better. Actually, let's just, I think it doesn't matter if it's a function or a property. I think that we can move up here. I guess it does. So, well, all right, let's do this. So fun check overrides. That seems easy enough. So we're just kind of splitting this up, and I'm let's see, what is this on? So that's on function descriptor. So yeah, so we need to split it up for properties and stuff. So here we want to check function overrides. And we'll deal with this later. Do nothing. Like, I mean, the checking that we're doing here is pretty cheap, so I wonder if maybe we should bring this into, let's just do that. So like we can decide how to factor this like in each one individually, but so we're adding that here and here. And then the idea is that now we're just always going to call this instead of only when it's composable. I'll try that. Oh, is it for callable descriptor? But this is on function descriptor though. So I think technically you're right, but I think that there are two separate interfaces just with a method of the same name. You can set overridden. Oh no, they do have get overridden descriptors. Okay, you're right. Well, okay, that would be another way to do it. I think just moving it into these, since we're already doing this, that this might be good enough. I'll just check it separately here. I don't have a big problem with that. Why did that get, okay. Let's try running it. Okay, and that's what we want. So I'm gonna put that here. Nothing to override. All right. And so there's a few situations that we want to handle. So there's the situation where the interface is the thing that's composable, and the implementation doesn't have composable. And then there's the other way around, where the implementation has composable, but the override does not. Hey, Dev Souza, good to see you. So let's just make a few of those. So you know, let's say composable function and val composable property, and then we'll do non-composable function param and val non-composable property. All right, and then here we want to miss those. So val composable property, and get equals true. And then I'm going to put on a composable fun non-composable function param boolean. Sure, we can just do that, and same thing here. Composable override, and then this is going to be a non-composable property. All right, so we should essentially get 3 more diagnostics here, but we want to add this check here. And then just because I want to just make sure that we only do this once, just to save some time, is compose error, let's say, has composable annotation. Let's just do that in both of these. And then what we'll do here is we'll set that. And then actually, I mean, we can just be a little bit simpler here. So since that's the last thing that we do, we can just replace it with that. And then I'll use that here. I'll just keep the early return on the property case. Okay, so it seems like the error should be the same. That makes sense. And so we should end up with 3 more. So I'm just going to add those to here, here, here. Okay. Let's give that a shot. Dev Souza asks about the SAM. What is the benefit from Kotlin? Compose does not support Java, and my understanding of its usage of SAM is for interoperability. Yeah, I mean, so this is like a general question just about function interfaces, and I think Roman Elizarov gives like a decent description of this in the talk that he just gave for the 1.4 event, but I mean, there's some things that function interfaces can be kind of nice for, is where, like, if you want to be explicit about like what this function type sort of is, or if you want to add on other optional methods, but then there's one primary method that you want to allow for. And you know, ultimately, like, if you have these, if you're trying to create something that interops with Java well, but is written in Kotlin, then sometimes the function interfaces are exactly what you want. And so to be able to represent that in Kotlin is kind of important, while continuing to have the Kotlin calling convention be convenient, like it is with SAM interfaces in Java. So I don't know. I mean, there are a lot of reasons for it. I think it's a good thing. Not sure if that answers your question or not. Let me know. Ooh, I'm like sweating here in my room. Okay. property getter descriptor cannot be cast to property descriptor. Interesting. When do I do that? So this happened here as property descriptor. Oh, interesting. When the declaration is a property. That's weird. That was probably a bug waiting to happen in other cases, but I guess what I'll do is I'll say declaration is KT property and descriptor is property descriptor. Then do this. And when declaration is KT function and descriptor is function descriptor. All right, that seems reasonable. Let's do that. Did my music stop? I wonder why. There it goes. Okay, cool. So this test passed. So that, I mean, kind of seems like enough for me. That seems like the bug is fixed. I will just put this in a commit and throw it up. Let me actually remove this test from the signature test. I don't think that doesn't seem like a signature test is the right place for it. So what do I want to do here? Okay, I'm over on my terminal here. This had a bug ID. I'm just trying to find it. Yeah, here it is. My computer is really struggling right now. I'm not sure why. Is like the video or any encoding or anything choppy for any of you? Let's see. So what I want to do is I'm going to say this issue diagnostics for missing or incorrect, well, for mismatched composable annotations on overridden declarations. And I'll give this a bug ID, and that should be good. Okay. All right, so that's one bug down. Skycolor asks, any ideas yet for the next dog food app? I haven't given it a ton of thought. I might go through some of the dribble designs that like I had kind of initially pulled up in that video that I did. If anyone else has any ideas, I'm all ears. I haven't had any like recommendations or anything yet, so let me know. Okay. All right, so this is the CL that just got created from this. Shoot, looks like we're missing some. Okay. So one of the things that happens is sometimes there's like improper white space here, and that'll like fail to build. So let's see. There and here. So I'm gonna just add that to this commit. Okay, so patch set 2, just updated that, and I'm gonna trigger pre-submit ready, which will have the test start running on this CL, and we'll move on to the next thing. So what should that be? Okay, got like 2 here that might be good. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna, well, actually I'll keep this commit on here just because it's it's like a pretty minimal commit, so it shouldn't break anything. So here's like an interesting thing. Basically, at one point, I had a bug assigned to me that said that basically this change was required in order to get it to compile. I'm not sure if that's still an issue. Like, it's possible this bug got accidentally resolved, but we should give it a shot just to see if we can reproduce it. So let's go to Vector Painter. And I suppose if we comment this out, the idea is that it would fail on unit tests. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I don't really want to run all of the unit tests because I don't know which unit test fails. So I'm gonna change this, and then I'll just push a CL with this change, and then if all the unit tests pass, then I'll merge it, and if they don't pass, then I'll fix these things in the CL. Okay. So what do we want to call this? Okay. Fix compiler return single expression return and update source. It's a little bit of a weird message because I didn't actually fix anything here, but it's okay. We might update it before merging or something. I'm gonna attach this bug ID, and I think that we should be good. So I've got 2 commits locally, so I'm gonna reorder them so that the commit I just made is like right above head, or right above the remote basically, and I will just push this one. A tool asks, how much is coverage for the Compose compiler backend? How much time does it take for a complete build? So a complete build, I mean, like, I assume you mean like running all of the tests and everything. The actual tests running, I think takes a few minutes. It's not terrible. But to run the whole repo, which, like, you can think of, we've got the tests on the compiler, but then the rest of the project builds and runs its tests on top of that compiler. So you can think of every unit test for Compose UI is sort of like an integration test for the compiler. And so to run all of those, I don't know exactly how long it takes. You can run it locally, and I think you can run everything that runs on the server. I feel like if I wasn't streaming and I had my full CPU, then it would probably take 25-30 minutes. But if I push it, then our CI will run it, and it has to build everything and then run all the tests. And I think that's on the order of like 30 to 45 minutes normally, but okay, so we ended up, shipping this or push this onto the CL, and I'm gonna run pre-submit checks there as well and just see if any of the tests fail, like was reported. All right. So, gonna move on to another bug. Let's see. Okay. Classcast exception. All right. So I've got a bug. Which, let's go to the CodeGen tests. Where are these? Or what do I want? I want the call lowering tests, I think. All right. So let's see if I can test return inside key. Someone reported a bug where if I write code like this, composable fun app, val length equals show message. So all this show message stuff isn't really important, but the bug, I guess, is that this inside of this key expression, the return fails unless you put at key. But it doesn't, it's not a compile error, it's a runtime error. So we need to either make it a compile error or have it transform correctly. So let's see if this works, and we can just, so basically what this test is gonna do is it's gonna compose app, which is then gonna compose this, which this should then produce the error. So if the bug report is still valid, then what we should see is I mean, we should actually, I'm wondering if I want to, let me just change this to text view. I don't know if we have this set up to do compose UI properly, but We should be able to get a text view with ID 123, and then we can assert that hello is equal to the text. And then that's it. That's all we want to do. I mean, on the first composition, this supposedly should fail. So let's see if that happens. I'll be right back. I just need to check something real quick. All right, I'm back. Sorry about that. Let's see. Dev Souza says, is there any way to watch a PR and get emails when the changes and comments in your OSP? So if you have an account, I think you can add yourself to the CCs. Let me know. I mean, like, because I have a Google account, so I'm not sure exactly what it is that you see here, but check to see if you can add yourself to the CC. And I think that that'll do what you want. All right. And we have finally built. Let me know, by the way, I just turned a fan on. Let me know if like there's background noise now. Yeah, Andre's doing some cool work. So yeah, let me know if the CC thing makes sense, or if it like if you're allowed to do it. Cool. Gosh, surprised at how long this is taking. So maybe let's see if any of these have come back positive or negative here. Nope, those are running. This is something different. And then this is also running. So you can see here, I guess you all don't see this, but it's running like 37 different sets of tests basically. Okay, so this is weird because well, okay. I mean, it's possible that this this bug report just isn't valid anymore, but it looks like this is working properly. So I'm gonna, and this was reported in June, which wasn't really that long ago. So Dev Souza says, I lost a couple streams. What is the state from stable? So it's still not quite done, but I felt like moving on the live streams from it, because right now it's like, it's just, you know, a little bit of polish here and there, and you know, maybe not all that interesting at the end of it. So that's the state of it. It's basically done. I plan on merging it in the next week probably. There's like a few lint checks that are failing, but like all of the test suite passes and everything like that. So I think probably the next release or the release after that will probably have some of this stable inference stuff in it. Okay. I'm gonna say tried to reproduce, but couldn't. I believe this must have gotten fixed somewhere along the way. If this is still an issue, please let me know. All right. So, I mean, what I might do is just add this as a test, since this, you know, if this is something that might have broken before, then maybe it'll break again. And since I already took the time to write this test, it might be good to just have it in there. So let me do that. Let's see. What I will do is I will say add test for returning from single expression key body. I'll link to this bug. I'll just do that. Database. Oops. So basically, I want this to be up top. I'll go ahead and push that. You know, it's funny. I think my laptop is struggling so much because it is so hot in my room. It's just like really hot right now. It's a hot day outside. I think it's like in the 90s. Like a lot of people in the Bay Area, we don't have AC. We only have heating. So when it's like a hot day, it can, you know, even if it's not like that hot by like global standards, since we don't have AC, it's, you know, kind of hot. Yeah, I was gonna look for some sort of a cooler, like some sort of a cooling system for my MacBook. Like I have it in this vertical stand right now. So like, I mean, the fans have easy air access. So it's like, I'm surprised that it heats up so easily, but you know, maybe if there was some removable heat sink or something that I could put on it while it's in its little docking station, that could be helpful. I don't know. Okay, so here's this test, which, you know, all this does is add a test, so it's a pretty easy CL to land, but I'll go ahead and run the pre-submit checks on it. And then let's see, can move on to the next thing. So here's an easy one. So let's see, I think in our function body transform test, so there's a bug right now where, let's see, I'll just add it to the bottom. So we want to test sibling ifs without else have unique keys. Let me try and explain this bug. First, let's see if we can reproduce it, right? So right now, if we have a composable function, what happens is if we put an if in it, so let's say, you know, let's say we're handed a condition. So we say if condition is true, then we're gonna call some, oh my gosh, what just happened here? All right. So then let's say we're going to call some composable function. And then we'll do the same here. Let's just give it a different body just to be clear. Composable fun A. B. So first, let's just check out and see what this generates. Oh, sorry, I'm not on the. All right, I feel like I have been getting better about that, but I still mess it up every now and then. Sorry about that. So what I have here is a test which takes some source code and then shows what we transform that source code into. And this is a composable function, and it has two if statements that are siblings to one another, both of which do not have an else branch. Dev Souza, did you try clicking the womp sound and it didn't work? Wow, my CPU is at 99% right now. Oh, darn. Okay, well, I need to spend some time, like, I don't know, working on some of the little things for the stream like that. You played it just for yourself? What do you mean by that? Okay, so that worked. That worked for me at least. So I guess like maybe in the interface you can like play for yourself and then play for the stream. Is that the idea? Yeah, does it get doubled? I kind of believe that. Here, actually, let me try something. Can you try playing it again? Although it might not let you. It might be like debounced or something. Can someone else try playing it? Okay. Yeah, I think that worked. So basically I guess the way I have it working right now is I have the sound coming from two different sources. There's like one that's like explicitly in OBS, and then the other one's coming through my desktop audio, which is then also getting forwarded to OBS. And so you're hearing it twice. So maybe I'll just remove the first one. I have it turned down to 0 now, so it should be not as annoying when it's not like perfectly matched. I'm gonna turn off preview, see if that helps my CPU at all. All right, test is finally coming through. I think my room is like a little bit of a greenhouse right now. think the light is like coming through the blinds and it's just like baking my room. I actually bought some blackout shades. Maybe try and install them this weekend. Okay, so that test completed. And here is what it generates. And the test did catch it actually. So this is the problem. So basically what happens is when we have an if statement and a composable call inside of it, what we do is we generate a group around the call, or it's like really it's around this whole branch, but it's a replaceable group. So that means that it needs to be sort of either or. And so we end up generating an else branch with a different, with a start group, end group call, but with a different key. And you can see that this test, it actually, we have some code in here to determine if there are any duplicate keys, and it sees that this is a duplicate key. And so the problem is that the key that we're generating for the non-existent else branch is basically becoming the same key for every else branch, which is technically a bug. It's like it's technically not going to cause any like observable bugs in userland code, but the result is like it's less optimal than it should be. So let's go ahead and fix that. All right. Look how much my computer is struggling. Can't even open this file. All right. So where this happens is, let's see, we visit a win. So all of the if statements in Kotlin in IR end up getting expressed as IR win blocks. And so when there is no else branch, what we do, so here we create an else branch. And this is the problem, is that we give it an undefined offset. And it turns out that this offset is what the key ends up getting generated from. And so we want to give this a better offset. And so what I'd like to do is just use the end offset of the original if branch, or like the whole statement really. So if I just do expression dot end offset here, and this will just have, so it'll have no width, so it'll start and end on the same offset. I think that this should work. So let's now, with that, let's try running the same thing and see if it fixes it. So Andre asks, why do you So we have some optimization. Like there are different kinds of groups, and we have a replaceable group here, which what that means is that whenever the code ends up executing, start replaceable group, what it does is it takes that key and it just looks at the current position of the slot table. And if the key doesn't match, then it just replaces that group with this group. And it doesn't look for the group elsewhere. Whereas if it's another type of group, like a movable group or a restart group, what it'll do is if that key mismatches, then it won't immediately delete that group because it's possible that it moved elsewhere. And so essentially we wanted if statements to fall into this like replaceable group category. So every branch of an if statement is a replaceable group. And so then the whole if statement will always produce one group no matter the execution path. And so if you basically, the if statement or the when clause, like it needs to be exhaustive. And if it's not exhaustive, then we basically add the else branch so that it is. And so that's kind of why. Not sure if that makes sense or not, but that's the idea here. Okay, so that did not fix it because we're still getting a duplicate key, I guess. So, I think it's because of the, I guess it's not the branch itself, it's the result. Yeah, it's this block that we end up generating code around. So I'll just do it for each one, and then I think that'll fix it. So Andre, let me know if that made sense. I know it's kind of confusing if you don't like look at this stuff all day. Everything is so slow right now. Okay. I think I've got our next bug pulled up here that we're gonna attack. All right, here it goes. Skycolor asks, have you seen someone made a Tetris game with Compose? Yeah, I saw that briefly. I didn't check out the code or anything, but it looked pretty cool. I love it when I see, I don't know, just random cool stuff that the community builds. It's always cool. Okay, so this succeeded this time, which is what we wanted because I removed the duplicate key thing. So it looks like that is fixed. And that should be the whole bug. So I'm gonna ship that. This is a very, very productive stream. I love working on small, easy fix bugs. Feels so productive. All right. So let's see. So what will we call this? Let's see, generate unique key hashes for sibling or synthetic sibling else branches. Sure, why not? That's not confusing enough. And I don't think there was a bug for this, unfortunately. So I'm just gonna push it as is. All right, and we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Head 4. I want this one to be at top. Should be good to go. So Nabil asks, how do you obtain the generated code in the test from the transformed IR? Do you compile the IR to JVM platform to generate bytecode? So it depends on the test, but the test that we're looking at here, so any test with the kind of suffix transform tests, I use, basically there's a utility that I created, which is like the IR source printer. So I created this class which essentially prints out an IR tree to a string that attempts to make the string as like human readable as possible. So like as close to the equivalent source code as possible, which just makes these kinds of tests very nice and easy to write. And we've actually talked earlier on, or previously on this stream, whether or not we could like try and open source this or ship it as like a standalone utility for other people to use. Yeah, it's basically, I mean, it's ir.dump, but instead of dumping it into just like a tree-like format, it tries to make it resemble actual source code. Okay, so I've got this pushed now, and so I'll have this run pre-submit, and we'll give that a shot. All right. So the next bug that I want to cover is basically what happens when there are certain situations that you can get into where we'll issue a type error, type mismatch error, because you're trying to set you're passing a composable unit lambda into some place that accepts a unit lambda, or vice versa. You're taking a unit lambda and you're trying to pass it into some place that accepts a composable unit lambda, and those are like different types. The composable bit kind of alters the signature of the function, and so we want to issue a diagnostic, and we do currently. We already do that, but the problem is that when we do that, when we issue that diagnostic, we are using the type mismatch error that's built into Kotlin. And the way that renders to the user doesn't include the annotations on the type. So you get this like really confusing error message that's basically like, incompatible types, unit lambda, and expected, like it got unit lambda but was expecting unit lambda, and so to the user those look like the exact same type, so it's like kind of nonsensical. So here's where we report it, right here. And so we can't really change the way this error gets rendered to the user. So we're going to end up creating one of our own errors that just looks the same. So let's go ahead and go do that. We'll create a new error, and I'll just add it to the bottom. And I'm just going to call it the same thing, type mismatch. And that's what I want to do. I'm going to go ahead and match the types here. So it's KT expression, Kotlin type, Kotlin type. KT expression, Kotlin type. And that ends up being Diagnostic Factory 2. Now this is compose errors, and we need an error message now. So I'll put this on the bottom as well. So compose errors dot type mismatch, and I actually have what we wanted to use here. Oh, okay. Import. Okay, and I think that'll work. And then interestingly, I mean, because all of our tests use, like they just show this string here, we probably don't need to update any tests, because we just switched from using the Kotlin one to the compose one. So let's change this. Compose errors. And then compose errors here. That should be everything. So we don't use the built-in errors anymore. And that should be that. Okay, so I'm just gonna commit this as well and run pre-submit on it. Go here. And then the commit message here will be more descriptive error messages for mismatched composable types. And I have a bug here. That should be enough. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, I'll push that. So this got a bunch done. That was fun. Let's see. Okay, so this is now the bug, or the patch set, and we will trigger pre-submit. Okay. All right. So the next thing that I want to work on, this is kind of, I guess there's two possible directions that we could go here. There's right now we have a problem if you try to get a function reference of a composable function. Like, it's just something that we don't really handle, but it will compile. And so we need to decide, one thing that we could do is we could just prevent people from doing it. So you can't get a function reference of a composable function. It would be like a compile error. or we can try to provide support for it. I'm not really sure which one is practical at the moment, so maybe we'll just spend a little bit of time investigating that and kind of seeing what makes sense. So probably the first thing to do is just write a few tests to see what happens, like what code gets generated and stuff like that. So let's go back to our lowering tests. Actually, maybe the param signature tests. So let's just do a really basic example here where we've got a composable fun A, which let's just say takes an int. Okay, so it doesn't need to take any parameters. We can just say that's that. And so there's a few things that kind of, maybe should work, maybe shouldn't work. I don't know. So let's say a callable, like for instance, right now, I wonder if what this does, right? And additionally, I wonder what this does. And then finally, I wonder content oh, am I not in? Sorry. By the way, now I didn't hear the sound. I don't know why. Sorry, I should have my preview up because that makes it easier to hear this. Like my music stopped and I'm not sure why. Yeah, I didn't hear the sound either. I think my computer is just struggling right now. Yeah, what is happening here? Like the music stopped, but I'm not sure when that happened. There's some weird background noise when I talk. It might be my fan. Might be more noticeable now that the background music isn't playing. Oh man. Computer needs a break right now. Is everything else like working out all right? Like is the frame rate bad? I don't know. Like I wonder what happens with any of those things. Yeah, I'm on my MacBook. The rest seems fine. Okay. Maybe I'm gonna quit the music app and try restarting it. Okay, thanks. We'll see if this music starts back up. I'm not sure. I mean, of all the things to like freeze up and break, I didn't really expect the music app to be the thing. But I don't know. Yeah, I might have to quit soon just because I'm so freaking hot right now. I'm gonna go find a fan, better fan. The one I've got doesn't put out a lot of air. Actually, let me do that. I'm just gonna go get a better fan real quick. All right, I'm back. Got a real fan now. See how this works. Okay, I see the fan is like exceeding my noise gate. I'm not sure if it's like really annoying or not. Maybe let me aim it a little more at the wall. Okay, looks like that worked. (39°F). Thanks. Where is that? Where are you? I'm still surprised that this music isn't playing though. Seems like a real problem. Oh. Stockholm, nice. Surprised. Did you have to look up the Fahrenheit? You all don't use Fahrenheit over there, right? What is that? It's like 4 degrees Celsius, something like that. Okay, so go back here. Redeclaration conflicting. Oh, yeah, okay. Be callable. True, it's 4 degrees Celsius. Yeah, trust me, you don't have to argue with me. I wish Celsius. I mean, all metric units just make a whole lot more sense than imperial. Let's see if this works. So there's something really going wrong with the music app's just straight up not working. I wonder if it's something wrong with the actual service. I don't know. Okay, composable invocations. That is interesting. So I think it's viewing this as a composable invocation, which it really shouldn't be. Like, that should be fine. So maybe that's what we'll work on. We'll just kind of just look into supporting composable references, function references, and like fix some problems with them. So this is one of our diagnostics, so we must be issuing this somewhere. Which is going to happen here, or no, here. Yeah. So let's go ahead and set a breakpoint there and see what this is complaining about. Wow, with this fan, my like computer is running 1,000 times faster. It's kind of crazy, actually, how much of a difference that makes. Like, my laptop doesn't even feel hot anymore. It's nuts. I should look into some sort of a, like, you know, ideally a passive cooler, so that, like, I don't want it to affect the audio levels all the time, but maybe if it was just, you know, active but a little bit quiet, because the MacBook's already got fans and stuff in it, but you know, something that just kept it a little bit cooler. Okay, so I see. So what happens is, in this check, I guess at some point we're assuming that this is a composable call. So I think this is part of the problem, is it thinks, like, so we think it's a composable invocation, but it's really just a function reference. And I wonder how we can figure out the difference. So KT name reference expression, that makes sense. Call type is default. Like, it's kind of weird. I'm surprised that this is what this shows up as, is as a call. Like, I think, so what's report on? Doesn't show up, I don't know why. Oh, there's report on. So like, I kind of want to see report on dot text. So that's A. And let's say, what's the parent? Or, oh, whoops. Report on dot parent. So that's a callable reference expression. So I think we need to handle that here, I guess. Right, what does this have? So if we edit this as KT callable reference expression. So, I mean, so what's the text of this? Yeah, so this is the ::A. So this has a callable reference. It's got the double colon. It is empty left-hand side. It's valid, it's writable. Receiver expression. Okay. I mean, so this might be the first thing that we just do, is like just sort of allow this, right? So we handle, basically when we find a composable resolved call, we determine if it's done in a valid scope. And if we reach, so we like kind of traverse up the tree. And if we reach a KT file or a KT class and like stuff like that, then we say it's an illegal call. It's like not in an appropriate context. So potentially we can add this and say, okay, if it's in a callable reference expression, then it's allowed. And we could at this point check the, I don't know, the expected type or something. It's a little bit weird. But like, okay, so let's just say if we do that, what happens? Like, does this now compile? So let's figure that out then. Oh, and we want this to be composable. So I think in an ideal world, you know, this line and this is valid, and that this issues a diagnostic, like this doesn't compile, or it shouldn't compile. But I suspect it's actually the opposite. I think that this will compile, and then these probably won't. Okay. Okay, function 0, but composable unit was expected. Yeah. So that, I mean, that kind of makes sense. Okay, function 0, but well, actually, I wonder which one that's on. So let's turn this into a diagnostic test. So declaration checker. Let's go back here. So then we want to say test composable function references. And let's put this in there. Run that. Okay, so we got to import composable, which is fine. Run it again. Unused parameter, can fix that. Okay. So that'll get rid of this diagnostic, and then these two are the ones that are wrong, but we kind of knew would be wrong. And so what I wonder is if we can do anything about this. I'm not sure that we can. So for instance, let's like just deal with this for now. So let's just comment those out. And so just these two things. I want to see what kind of capability we have here. So if I run this, I want to see if our type resolution interceptor extension. This is kind of the only situation where we would be able to influence this at all. Is that true? Well, I think we might be able to use the call resolver, but I don't really want to use that plugin because we spent a lot of effort getting away from that plugin. And all right, let's see if any of these breakpoints get hit. Okay, so it didn't call those at all, although I'm not sure that we're actually I'm not sure if that is valid. Maybe the debugger just didn't work out. It's not the kind of issues you can find an answer to in Stack Overflow. Yeah. You know, it's funny. I mean, like I think Stack Overflow is great. I really do. But like I remember when I was like not like just starting out, but I remember earlier on in my career when, you know, whenever I had a question, you know, my first thought was to like go on Stack Overflow and find it out. And I kind of thought that that was like what everyone did and everything, but you know, and some of it's just the nature of what I work on, but I can't remember the last time I used Stack Overflow and like found an answer. Just because I don't even think to use it anymore, because almost everything that I work on, like it's just kind of beyond that scope. I don't know. Sort of weird to think about, but I like didn't realize earlier on that like that was even a possibility. Now it's my turn to provide answers on Stack Overflow. Yeah, I mean I could. I don't know. I mean I at one point I did try and answer like a number of questions on Stack Overflow. I didn't get very far, but like it was kind of more back in the JavaScript days. And so, I mean, maybe it's like a really good place for compose, you know, answers and stuff. Like if, like there is a question of, where do we want people using compose to go for answers? And if it is Stack Overflow, then maybe we as a team should spend a lot of effort making sure there are like high quality answers there. But I'm not sure that is where we want them to go. I'm not sure if that we as a team have like sort of decided that. One of the, you know, I remember, who was it? I think it was I think it was Pete Hunt, who was one of the early people that like worked on React at Facebook. Well, he worked for Instagram, I guess, which is one of the first. There was one of the Instagram was kind of the forcing function that took React open source. But anyway, Pete Hunt was a big part of that effort, and I remember him talking at one point and explaining how they wanted to figure out, you know, where was the area that they would spend their team's effort to provide support and like making a cognitive decision. And I think that they made a cognitive decision to not have Stack Overflow be one of those places. And I think that makes sense. Like, I think if you just try to have good solution, like good answers everywhere, and Stack Overflow being like one of those places, then it can be hard. And so like other options are, you know, just having really killer documentation, or, you know, having like GitHub issues be the place, or having Reddit be the place, or, you know, Twitter, whatever it is, whatever you want. But I don't know. I think it would be, I think we should have more conversations around that explicit choice of like, okay, where are we going to spend our time providing community support? Like right now, a lot of it happens just sort of ad hoc in Kotlin Lang Slack. Like a lot of people are asking for help with Compose in the Kotlin Lang Slack, and that's probably the best resource outside of documentation right now. But that's not a very good scalable long-term solution. Like Stack Overflow is built to have answers be reused and visible and found over time, whereas Slack, you know, if something's been asked and answered before, it's like extremely hard to surface that. So we end up here. But we never end up here or here. So we're not going to be able to use this extension. So I don't know. I mean, it's a little bit disappointing. I think that we should maybe have like we should reopen, and I think maybe the near term thing that I'll do is basically prevent someone from doing this. So you can't get a composable function reference to a composable function. But then, you know, the longer term fix is to kind of figure out how we solve this problem, because this is kind of a bummer to me. Like if you can do this with a normal function, you should be able to do it with a composable function. So I'll try and figure that out, but I don't have a good answer for this right now. I don't think we have the right extension points. So Nabil says you can compare reference.symbol.owner.name against is IR function reference. If you have an IR callable reference to figure if you have a function reference call. Yeah, but the problem is just the type system. Like it's not a backend problem. On the backend, you know, we could figure out a way to transform this. The problem is that the type end thinks of this as a function 0. And it's not. And so we need to prevent this object from being passed into places where a function 0 works and makes sense. So like for instance, if I've got undo something, and this, you know, accepts a function 0. I mean, it doesn't even have to be that. Like let's just say it's, you know, that. I can't, like doing this is just straight up wrong, but the type system won't prevent me from doing that. And so, and I don't have the ability with the extension points that we're using right now, I don't have the ability to teach the front end how to do this correctly. And so I think at the moment I just need to disable it so that whenever we do have that capability, we can turn it on and have it not be a breaking change. So I guess I'll do that. And so in this case, what we want to do here is instead of saying a legal call, we will issue a different diagnostic. So what's this? Legal call. I'll create a new one that says composable function reference not allowed. Or like, let's just, to follow the same pattern, let's just do that. And we can do KT callable reference expression. And then what I want to do is add an error for this. KT callable reference expression. Composable function reference, so I'll call it. Then we'll add an error message. I'll just say function references of composable functions are not currently supported. Okay, and then in here, composable function reference. Let's call that a ref expression. And then we'll call that from here. Okay. And then we should have a declaration checker test that validates this. So let's just do a few of these things. So we'll say do something, print this. And then I'm just going to do a few things in here. So, oh, hey, Enzo. You guys want a little quick picture of the dog? Enzo. Enzo. Oh, never mind. He ran away from me. Oh, is it? Okay. That kind of makes sense. Well, actually, that's a little weird. I wonder why that's happening. Let me try. Okay. I think that'll fix it. All right, so now it's unstuck. Anyway, what was I doing? Okay, so we want to try passing in be callable here. Shouldn't, well, that's not worth testing. I guess we just want to let's just do these three things, which we want to make sure get reported. And then we also want to do it like here. So we want to do these two and verify that. All right, so that'll be our test. Let's run that and see what happens. Okay, so we get a bunch of diagnostics, which makes sense. And then let's also, or no, this is just a function. All right. So we're gonna have composable function reference. And type mismatch also gets reported. Oh, and I wanted to do this just without any type annotation whatsoever. So I'll try that. I'm just going to do this on all three of these because all three should break, although some will also create a type mismatch error. And we should also expect it there and there. Oh, you can't see. Sorry. Keep doing that. Okay, so this is now our test. We've got a composable function, which we're just using, as something that we can get a reference to. And then I'm basically, initializing three properties to that function reference, and some have type annotations and some don't. And then I'm also inside of a composable function, I'm creating these function references, and I'm just essentially disabling this capability altogether for a function reference. So, and then maybe what we should do is like ensure that normal function references are fine. But let's try running this first. Okay, so this came back. So we have type mismatch errors for these two things, which makes some sense. So be callable. Try that. And then also here. And see, so this sort of demonstrates the problem is that this do something. So we issued this diagnostic, but no type mismatch diagnostic would have showed up. And so the : A would have worked just fine. And it would have, that's a bug. So we kind of need to prevent this for that reason. Let's try running again. All right, so that test passed. And now what I'm gonna do, just to like verify that we haven't like broken normal function references, I'm gonna create a test for non-composable function references. And so let's just remove that and let's see what happens. So this should be valid. This should create a type mismatch. And this should be valid. And then here, this one should be valid. Oops. And this should create a type mismatch. So let's see if that works out as expected. Okay, looks like that passed. So that's great. That's what we wanted. And let's see, so what do we add here? Reference expression. Add that. Okay. So that looks clean. We added some errors, error messages. And that's about it. So, oh, and then the param signature tests, we're gonna get rid of that. So now, let's see. Got these 4 files: errors, error messages, call checker, declaration checker test, which looks right. So we'll add all those. Did I have a bug ID for this? I did not. I think there is one, but I'm not sure what it is at the moment. So let's insert here and we say prevent composable function references until we have a viable strategy for them. Okay. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, dang it. All right. All right. There's a conflict with one of the other bug fixes we just created. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move this to another part of the file, because like that's the only reason it's creating a conflict. Oh, I'm sorry you couldn't really see that, but it's all right. Git commit amend. Do the same thing. Crap. What? Oh, because there were two tests, so I need to move both of them up. All right, so now we will add that. And now we should be able to rebase cleanly. Yep. And we'll push this. Composable. Yep. All right, so this is that. So we've got our tests. We've got the diagnostic that we're issuing, and then the actual warning message and everything. Okay. So I'm going to run pre-submit on these. And let's see. What other bugs do I have? Okay, that was a pretty good run of some bug fixes. I think maybe the next task that I'll work on is it's actually around this remember optimization that I ended up disabling because it broke some things. Let me pull it up. So provide. Nope, that wasn't. So this ended up breaking because of something that I did. Let me find that initial change here. Okay, here it is. So this is a pretty interesting optimization. Let me try and explain what it is that we're doing. So if you look, like I guess here's a pretty basic example where if we have a composable function which takes in 2 parameters, and then it calls remember with those 2 parameters. So remember right now is like a proper composable function. It's defined in the runtime basically, but it's a composable function just like any other. What we end up doing is replacing that call with a direct call to composer.cache. And let's see. Yeah, so composer.cache is, let's go look at that function. Composer.kt. Cache. Okay. So this is the cache API for the composer. Make it a little bit bigger. And so this is a pretty fun, like cache is very closely related to what remember is, but what cache does is it accepts a Boolean, which indicates whether or not the previous value was like invalid. So whether or not to like regenerate a call or not. And the second parameter is a function to produce that value. So basically what it does is it says, give me the next value in the slot table, like at this current position. And if it's empty, so basically if nothing has happened, we're inserting for the first time or whatever. So that's one situation. So if it's empty, or if you're telling me to invalidate the cache, then run block and take that value and store it in the slot table, and then essentially return that value. And this is an inline function. So what that does is that means that like, you know, block will not get materialized into a lambda. So whenever we run cache, like in a lot of cases, it's just give me the next slot, and as long as nothing's invalid, great. Now I have that value, and it's of type T. So that's kind of like the most efficient sort of version of remember that you can get. And what remember does right now, let's see. Why no reified generics? Let's see, would it help us to make this reified? It doesn't end up mattering because we're calling it from here anyway, which isn't always in line. Let's see, like, so could we, can we make it? Yeah, we can't make it. Oh no, this is inline as well. I don't know, maybe we could make it reified. actually indicated that we should here. So I'm not sure. Maybe we should make it reified. That was, I believe that reified generics was like broken earlier on in IR, and so we maybe just never put that back. I don't remember. But anyway, so this is like, you can see that remember with no parameters is just a call to composer.cache, right? The problem is is that remember, because this is a composable, it will create a start and end group around this. So we end up creating a group just for a remember call. But we don't need to do that if the remember is at the top of the function. And so like basically no other groups have been created yet. And so if you look, for instance, here, we've got this composable function, and then we make 2 calls to remember, and then we call some other composable function, and then we make like a 3rd call to remember. So what happens is that we can optimize these 2, but not this one. And so this optimization does that effectively. So we say, okay, just instead of remember creating groups and all that, like just have it call composer.cache directly and give us back the result. So that's nice. And then after the A call, then we end up creating like a proper call to remember here. So this was an optimization that I worked on a little while ago, and it ended up creating some bugs. And so we turned it off because we didn't really, like, I didn't really have time to fix all the bugs, and I was worried about it, and so I just I disabled it and said, okay, I'll come back to it. Well, anyway, so maybe now I should come back to it, and we should take a look at it. So these are a bunch of the cases. The other thing that's like interesting is, so if it's at the top of an if block, so the if creates a group, and so because it created a group, then, and this is at the top of the group, then I can fall into that optimization. So it'll just create a composer.cache call there. So these are all those optimizations. So the first thing I should do is like probably just go back and turn these tests back on and see what happens. So let's do that. Where just gonna close other here. Comp fun. We'll open that up, and then body. Okay, so here's where we ended up turning or like ignoring this whole test suite. So I'm gonna remove that so that it actually runs. And then we need to enable the optimization. So this is where that happens, and we'll enable that again. So basically what happens is when we visit a composable call, it comes here, and most composable calls will fall under this path. But we do some special things, for instance, for key, and then here's where we do some special things for remember, which we had disabled, but now we're re-enabling it. And so we end up back here. And I just want to see what happens. So let's go ahead and run this whole test suite. I imagine a few of these, well, maybe all of them are going to fail because, let's see, I feel like I just saw something. Well, okay, I don't know, maybe not. We'll see. We'll see which ones of these fail. Yeah, maybe they'll be all right. Okay, so all of the tests pass, which is nice because that means that, like, you know, we haven't changed a whole bunch since this got merged. But obviously the tests passed before too, and that the tests weren't good enough because there were some bugs that resulted from it. So what we want to do is we want to find some of the places that were buggy and create reproductions. Hmm. Some of these bugs might be hard to find. I mean, we had some filed, but I'm trying to figure out how to reproduce them. So I guess this was one of the things. Let me see here. Hmm. So at the moment, I'm reading one of the bug reports against this. I'm trying to figure out what went wrong. Like, I remember after we merged this, there were just a few kind of very hard to understand behaviors that were happening that were like clearly related to this, but we didn't really understand how. Okay, I wonder if this will still happen. One of the bugs was in core text field, which has changed quite a bit. In fact, it's changed enough that this bug isn't even relevant anymore for it. Yeah, so that bug, the one reproduction of the bug doesn't matter anymore. Or I mean, it's not that it doesn't matter. It's just the code has changed enough that it won't be related. This other bug, I'm worried wasn't actually related to this. I'm not sure. So if you look here, this ended up doing something weird. So okay, one thing I'm gonna try, like, just in the interim, I want to take this change and put it up in a CL and run pre-submit and see if any tests fail. Because if they do, then we might have a lead on like what problems still exist. But I mean, they passed before, so I'm not confident that this will help. Okay, and then we probably also want to function body skipping transform. Let's run these tests and just see if there's anything that we need to update. Okay, all of those tests passed. All right, I don't know. Yeah, let's just merge it like this and see what happens. Okay, and So let's say re-enable remember intrinsic optimization. And I think we've got a few bugs that we can link here. Let's do this one. And this one. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Base 7. All right, and then for this, we'll go ahead and run pre-submit. And actually, so one of these came back. So if you remember this one that we did a while ago, this is where we, just updated this, which should be a no-op change, and we wanted to see if any code would fail. And it looks like some things did. So let's find out what those are. I think I'm going to open these in a new window. I'm not sure if I'm supposed to open these. Okay, although this doesn't look correct. This looks like a flaky failure. Unchecked IO, yeah. Okay, I think this was a flaky failure, so I'm gonna hit retry here. So maybe there wasn't actually anything. This was a failure in a completely different module. Interesting. Okay, I think I accidentally put that into a new window. So this passed, issue diagnostic for mismatched composable annotations. Okay, so I'm gonna add a few reviewers here. And we'll get the ball rolling on that. This is what we just looked at. Term, single expression. Okay, so something failed here. And then this is that same flaky error. So I'm gonna have that rerun as well. And then this was something different. We'll see where that goes. Okay, more descriptive error messages. See what this is. New window. This is maybe another flake. I think we might have some infrastructure issues going on right now. Yeah. Same flake. So we'll retry that. I'm gonna just proactively add some reviewers here, since I believe this one will pass. Generate unique key hashes. Okay, so this passed. Great. And then prevent composable function references into this. Okay. Yeah. So this is still running, but maybe I'll ask for some reviewers as well for that. Okay. So we'll see how those go. All right. I don't know. I think probably we'll end the stream here. I've been streamed for 5 hours today. It's a lot for me, but I didn't have any meetings today, so it's kind of a nice break from things. I don't know. I hope this was interesting. This was, we weren't kind of driving down a single path, but I was just knocking out a few bugs that I kind of let piled up. Like, one of the things that I kind of do is, like, there's like sometimes you have important bugs, but there are so many of them that if you just focused on them, like, you would never kind of finish, or you never like build anything meaningful. And so then there's like new big projects that aren't necessarily urgent, but they're important that you get them done. And so like the stable inference and propagation, like that whole optimization, that's kind of an example of that. It's like, that's a really important thing for us to do. But if I only focused on the bugs that were assigned to me, I'd probably never get to it. And so what I like to do is kind of do nothing else but like kind of new features for a little bit, and then shift focus and do nothing but bug fixes for a little bit, and kind of bounce back and forth between those things. And I don't know, that's just like a strategy that's worked out for me. And so I thought it'd be interesting if some of you just see some of this. JB Pratt, glad you enjoyed it. Shinigami, glad you thought it was cool. Nicholas says both interesting and enjoyable. Yeah, cool. Well, that makes me happy that some of you think this is interesting. So we might be doing some more stuff like this later. We'll just see what happens. And hopefully I'll be able to get like the stable inference and stuff landed. I think that'll be really interesting to see how that works out. And maybe there'll be some bugs from that we'll end up trying to fix live on stream and stuff like that. So anyway, just let me know if any of this, if you have any ideas for how this could be more interesting, anything like that. But I hope you all had a good time watching it, and have a good weekend. Cheers.